It's Art. It's Leroy, Kenny, Mike. We're good.
Jim, don't forget Jim.
And the late Frank.
And the late.
The late Frank is really.
Where are you, Frank?
Frank
we're waiting for you.
Frank hasn't been here in a while.
Yeah, you guys.
Actually, he was here
2 or 3 meetings
2 weeks
ago.
ago.
2 or 3 meetings ago.
Yeah.
Was he here since you're back?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At least once.
Yeah.
I know the first 2 nights I was here, he was here.
Look, Frank, see this?
Oh, look, it's Vicente.
It talks to Alexa.
Oh, let him in, let him in. He's locked. Let him in, let him in.
It talks to Alexa. Alexa can talk to this wall socket, Frank. Yeah, flip that lock, toggle.
Like this.
See if it opens from the outside. That's the trick. Yeah, okay, we're good. Somebody left us in there.
You don't need to have a secret handshake to get in.
Hi.
Well, we prefer like the cats that dance at our window. Hey.
Let me in.
And this is Vicente.
Yes.
Mike, Kenny, Leroy, Art, Vicente, Jim.
We're going around
We're
the
good.
circle
And
again.
yes, we're in the summertime blues. This is going to get bigger. We're going to have trouble in the fall. We may have to go to one of the other rooms.
They're going to bang the doors down in the fall.
Yeah.
It,
We'll have
it does
more
happen.
dancing ones.
It does actually happen.
You get more, yeah.
It's working.
Yes,
The distance,
yes.
8
Okay.
inches.
So we're doing a low
You ready to go, Leroy?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't really know if we wanted to power these up and do it here or not. I mean, we could, I suppose. But I brought them so everybody could see what I was doing.
So we have, tell us what we got here.
Okay, so
Looks like we got 3 Unos.
3 Unos.
3 Unos. Okay, so tell me the functionality of each of these Unos.
Well, I ran into an issue. I ran into several issues. One,
okay, these are what are these?
these are the LoRa boards. They're
Okay.
915 megahertz.
915, that's US standard, okay.
So they're
This
made,
is narrowband, right?
yes.
It's not spread spectrum.
It's spread spectrum narrowband.
Yeah, that was my question. You're
Wait a
confusing me
minute.
with the facts here.
I'm confused too. I've read it and I reread it, and I'm confused.
Me too, and I ran out of beer.
It's uses chirp spread spectrum
Yeah,
modulation,
yeah,
or a type of chirp.
yeah,
It is narrow band.
yeah.
Want a chair?
It's confusing. It's confusing to say the least.
Okay.
The bandwidth on this could be as much as 500 kilohertz or as small as 7.8 kilohertz. So it could be very, very, very small or pretty wide.
The channel is small, but there are a lot of channels.
That
right?
there are a lot.
A lot of narrow channels. Or
But you're not hopping from channel to channel.
You're not it's not frequency hopping.
Yeah,
It's not frequency hopping spread spectrum. It's more like Doppler. So it sounds like
So it morphs wide to narrow to.
yeah.
Is it pulse signal or is it continuous signal?
I don't know.
Okay.
From I've got a recording of what I think it sounds like, because when I switch off, go to a different frequency, it disappears. So I don't think it's a birdie or any weird,
Yeah.
funky harmonic of something. and it kind of has that sound where it goes sort of. It doesn't stop, and I thought it was supposed to stop.
Okay.
So
the rate of change of that signal is supposed to be how it's modulated or something. Yeah, we don't want to go into that. We don't talk about that.
oh, I am
anymore.
so confused
We're
on how
done.
this actually works.
Okay,
I-
so this is Arduino Uno, and this is the
This is the LoRa board.
lower board and with an antenna and 4 wires.
That's a GPS.
How much the
Oh,
low
GPS.
cost?
Pick that up at MCM for $12.
Okay.
$12. So $24, $25.
Mhm.
You need at least 2. They need to be on the same frequency. And to be legal inside the United States, that's 915 megahertz. Just
Plus or minus.
right.
What, how many channels
It's
are
actually
there? How many channels?
oh God, I don't know. Well, I think it depends on what you set your bandwidth to be. Because you can actually set it to be a 500 kilohertz or a 7.8 kilohertz.
Okay.
7.8 kilohertz should get you longer distance.
Mhm.
500 kilohertz would be shorter distance,
Okay.
at least in theory. You can actually set and you can go out of band on these. So if you wanted to do 433, you could. It's tuned for 915, which means that it would be better at 915, but it could go
So how do you tune it?
with the software. So far, I haven't found any.
What is the physical property that's changing? Is there a varactor in there or something like that?
I have no idea. It's magic. It's a software defined radio, so they're doing
Yeah.
funny things anyway. This module can go 860 something, clear up to just over 1 giga. But it's tuned for the 915 band, which means it's going to work best if you stick within 902 to 928. I think is what that band is.
What's the total milliwatts out? You know,
Teeny tiny.
I mean, we're talking about 10 milliwatts?
Yeah, I think it's less than that.
Really?
It's small because you got to stay legal. Without getting a license, the FCC will let people play with extremely low power.
So this is RS-232.
Yeah.
Back out of this to the LoRa board and power probably. Power and RS-232 are some serial interface.
No, it's RS-232. It's 9600 baud.
So what's the satellite module there for?
Okay, so
GPS.
I wanted to see how far. They claim 15 kilometers, which is 8 miles
Round.
ish, 8 mile ish.
Yeah, 9 miles. Right.
What is that?
The antenna for the GPS.
It's a dongle.
That's the antenna for the GPS.
Okay.
So I wanted to see just what I could do under less than ideal conditions. I had this sitting next to the computer, inside walls and everything else. I had this sitting on my dash, transmitting out every 20, 25 seconds or so it would transmit.
So you drive down the road and want to see when the signal dies.
So, which led to the other problem.
What's under the board there?
Okay, that's where the other problem is.
For logging?
Yes.
It's what?
Okay, so
LoRa board.
the LoRa board, the library seemed to have there's some sort of timing thing going on with the SPI.
Mm-hmm.
So I could get it to write to the SD card one time, but once it received a packet, it would stop writing to the SD card. So my solution, after trying every other thing, was just to throw another board on it with a serial connection This is the ground wire so that the two are,
So it's basically it's just to isolate the two boards.
this one's running, this one's just monitoring the serial port. This one's just sending everything to the serial port. Once it gets something, it's just writes it to the card and
Okay.
done. We're done. And I struggled with getting this board to work on top of this.
How you use the data in the map? You load the data in some application or something?
Just Google Maps.
Google Maps can receive the
No,
data or?
no, I pulled the SD card, stuck it in the computer, and did it by hand,
The points in Google Map.
just so I could see. So the furthest distance that I was able to get in less than optimal conditions was about 6.5 miles.
Oh, so that's not bad.
So it's not bad. So that's what, 10 kilometer,
Yeah.
Ish.
A little over 10.
10 kilometer ish. So not bad. I got it pretty consistently around the 2 mile mark. So at 2 miles, it seemed to work really well.
What kind of terrain we talking about? Just flat?
Well, I was up here on I-75. 75.
Okay.
The place that we're staying at is right off of the Franklin exit at I-75, so it's like right there. So it's pretty much line of sight-ish,
Okay.
more or less. But I was pretty happy with.
So where'd you
Oh, yeah.
have this in your car?
It was just sitting on the dash.
So it's high enough up, it's really not blocked by much of anything in the car.
In theory, that was why I. So let's see if we can look here. I've got some pictures. Maybe. So that should be, I need to stop looking at the TV. So that's where it was sitting at on the dash
Okay.
in the car.
So it's got a fairly unobstructed view outside the car.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was my first attempt where I tried to just two boards and bang, done. And no, of course not. Why would it be simple, right? So I had some other problems, like these boards aren't documented. They're documented okay, but they're not documented well. The sketches that were provided for them didn't compile.
The boards are not open source, I'm assuming, right?
The boards are open sourced.
Well, they are.
Yes, but like Link Sprite's not great about doing their documenting and other stuff. I'm not sure which picture this is. So this is a picture of, oh, I was still trying to get the SD card to work with just one board. So let's look at something else here. We'll go back here to this. And we'll go. So this is the raw data file that actually that I was finally able to create. And you see here where it says receive packet location invalid. A bunch of times I did not get a good GPS signal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that happened a bunch, and that was the GPS's fault, not anything else. And then something odd happened, and I have no idea what that was all about right there. But it received just gibberish from somewhere. And a bunch more invalids. And then all of a sudden, I start getting good signal. Now I added these extra little comments to say where it was at. So I was outside of McDonald's. That one actually, it's still outside of McDonald's, but the data got corrupted somewhere. And you can see that right there. So now I'll show you the picture, but the McDonald's I was at literally is in front of the place I'm staying at. So it's like, 500 foot maybe. So it's not very far at all. But you can see the closer I was, I got a bunch of decent things. And then, boom, I'm up on this Interstate 75 near Solid Rock Church. And that's about 6.5 miles. And then I came back, went up to MCM, and I was about 2 miles away, and I was getting some good readings there. And then I was actually sitting in the parking lot for that one. So go figure.
What does MCM stand for?
MCM Electronics.
Okay.
They stand for MCM Electronics.
I've heard of Dalco in Springboro, but I've never heard of MCM.
It's in Springboro as well.
You know where I'm talking about, Dalco?
Yeah. I've been to Dalco.
Off near Pioneer Boulevard or whatever.
MCM's over on Pioneer.
Okay. The same area.
So this is the McDonald's. This shows the little dot. This is where I'm staying at right now. This is where I was at when we went to McDonald's. So, not surprising that it actually worked there. It worked there when I was just walking around. So this is the impressive one though. This is the good one. This is the one where I went, yay, it worked. So Solid Rock Church is actually down here a little bit. You can see that's.
So what is that, 73 going across there?
This road right here.
Yeah.
That is
Union Road?
not Union. Union runs north and south. That's Green Tree.
Green Tree.
Green Tree Road. So I guess I'm a little closer to Green Tree. And then here I said, show me just how far away I actually was. I wonder why that's not big. These pictures are huge. I took huge pictures. So that would be the route. And it curves a little bit, so I don't know if it's actually 6 miles, 6.5 miles. It may be closer to 6. Either way, it's still fairly impressive. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
And this is very low power.
It's extremely low power
and extremely long distances for that.
And I know I was traveling 65, 70 miles an hour, and it worked. And I went, yes.
That is pretty amazing.
And it was sending GPS. Yes.
So what's the bandwidth, the throughput? Yeah, 9600 baud. You're sending a 9600 baud?
No.
No?
No, it's slow. It's slow, and I'm sending. It's probably slower than that.
Okay. And we expected it.
It's.
Well, you got pretty long latitude and longitude data there, so how long does it take to gather a data point?
That's the real question, because I messed around with the time. The GPS will read the GPS pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
I slowed it down to like 60 seconds. That seemed like it took way too long to send, and I wasn't getting any good data at all. 30 seconds seemed like it worked pretty well. I dropped it when I actually did this test. I dropped it to about 20 seconds between packets. It worked, but it may have been too fast. I may have stepped on top of packets by sending them.
That's a pretty good chunk of bits for
Yeah,
20 seconds.
30 seems like it was the right speed, and I probably ought to go back and adjust it and test it again at 30 to see if I get more data points.
Because how many? You got a bunch of bits there. That's serial. You got.
Well, it's only sending. It's only sending what? 6, 12. It's only sending like 12 characters. It's
Okay, so it's 12 by 8. 8 bits per character. So 96 bits, something like that, 100 bits, around 100 bits in 30 seconds. That's a bit per second, 3 bits per second.
I'm probably stepping on myself by trying to do it faster.
New.
I tried to do it fast. And I think like LoRa was designed to like actually sit out somewhere, monitor something that never changes, and then when it changes, send a packet.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
So we're getting on the order of 3 bits per second, which is, well, based on what our expectations, that sounds reasonable. 3 bits per second.
You use the analogy of a big farm field where they got stuff and their moisture content or something, and
That's what I think shine, because you'd be out in a big open space, probably be able to stick that up on a pole somewhere, have this on a pole somewhere to receive and collect your data points.
something that you need, but you can get the data without having to walk on.
For something, maybe send one thing every hour or one thing once every 12 hours or something. So I don't think it was ever really meant to actually send GPS back to.
But I can see that you got a huge farm in Nebraska that you got acres and acres, and you got to monitor all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it was sort of meant for, was for large open spaces, for data that doesn't change or changes so slowly that.
Temperature, tank level, or something.
Right. So, and for that purpose, I think it's perfect for doing what I'm doing. There's better ways to do that.
Too many variables that change too much.
Well, yes, GPS. GPS is constantly receiving, so you've got to slow it down in the software to do something.
So it can handle it.
So they also is probably obeying the rules that says you can't take up more than 10% of the bandwidth during this time too.
Right. And I think, the library and everything else is handling how that actually gets shoved out to this antenna. I'm not saying that you couldn't send GPS, because obviously you can, because I've been doing it. In fact, what might actually be a good thing to do is maybe out in the field somewhere, if you deployed a bunch of these, you could have a GPS where it would still just do it once every 12 hours or so, monitor or whatever, send its GPS location where it's actually at, so you know which one is saying the field needs whatever.
I think this works as a package sender, right?
Yes, it sends.
Can you define the size of the package, or by default there is a size? Because you put the data inside a preamble and and send the package.
No, see, that's where I started to get confused as well, because I think there's a lot going on, a lot more going on than what I'm understanding is happening to this thing. Because I was trying to understand how it's narrow band, yet it still has a what appears to be a wider. It's mind-boggling to me, but I don't quite get what it's actually doing.
Yeah, we're at the user level. He's got a user interface, and he's
A friend of
working.
mine is working in Chile in the mines in the copper mines, and he's using this technology to put a tag to every worker.
Yeah.
And they know exactly where they are at the end of the day, and to be sure that everyone is out of the mine
Oh, okay.
by some point of time.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that's working pretty well. The LoRa.
Okay.
I think for something like that, I think that would work really well.
Low power.
Low power.
Run on batteries for months. And every worker is reporting his location to the administration to know if something happens, there is an emergency or something, they know where to go to pick them or to move them out.
I'm thinking it gives the RSSI number, and it's, at a greater distance, it's over 100, negative 100 something. What I was actually considering was deploying like 3 of these as receivers in like a triangle, and trying to get the RS.
Using to find the position, the location.
Throw that on the robot.
Yeah.
And then, because the RSSI numbers change very, very smallly on this inside of a room. So this is, say, negative 60. That might be negative 61 or negative 59 because it's a little closer.
It's also a fluctuation measure, I know that there is a service about that, but it has some kind of intelligence to average, to estimate continuously, because a single number
doesn't really mean anything.
It looks like the target is moving all the time.
Right. What I actually have found though is when this was sitting still on the desk, and this was just receiving, and they were roughly that far apart, the RSSI number didn't change until I actually moved it.
The problem is when you are moving, if you are in a steady situation, maybe you have
you have something in the way.
Yeah. You still need to do some math and some averaging, but I was thinking it might actually be good for doing some indoor location kind of stuff. If you could put 3 or 4 up in various spots, and you could read and then you could have one that just, does all the math and goes, well, I must be here.
You could map stuff, do the
Just
laser.
probably pretty close to what he's doing, is kind of trying to map the stuff, map his workers or whatever.
And for close
at the Arduino side, they are selling a board that works. I don't know, the MR something 2000 or something. They say that it's out, it's sold out, and will be on sale soon. But they sold out all the boards that do that.
Oh yeah. I know. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, there's more stuff.
One of the things that someone brought up in this, they were trying to solve a problem in this location at this club, was someone came in and it was a South American where they wanted the application. There was parking areas.
I've seen them. I was reading something about using more for parking.
Yeah, to tell how many parking places you have and where they are. When they come in, go to this spot. There's nobody there. So that would be a reasonable application for something like this.
I also have, let's see if I could do this without too much problem. I also have, because of course now it's saying that it can't connect. I've got a video of like I said, I think it's the lower transmission. I will not swear to it. But when I switch off the frequency, it disappears. So I know it's not a birdie. I know it's not a harmonic, or at least I don't think it's a harmonic of anything else. And it kind of sounds like the way that they were describing, and it's not in here. Oh, there it is. It's in the right spot. I mean, it's 908 megahertz and something. Come on, you slow internet, play.
It's buffer for a bit.
Yeah, it needs to buffer. It's not a very long video. It is its own
Sounds pulse oriented.
It is its own modulation scheme, and I was using AM to actually hear it, so it probably doesn't sound exactly the way it should. I switched it over to FM to see what and it sort of faded out. So I switched back to AM because I could actually hear it.
Probably single sideband. They can get twice as many channels then.
Yeah, it's not FM and it's not AM. I know that, but it's somewhere. At least I think that that's what I'm hearing. I will not swear to it.
So is the beat something being picked up, or is that you pushing buttons?
That's me pushing buttons. I was trying to get, settings and whatever to try to get it in there a little better. It's on my, it's my IC92.
Okay.
Which is really the only radio I have right now that can even receive 900 megahertz stuff.
Have you got one of those wideband USB things? I'm trying to remember what they're called now.
Like the SDR radios?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Because then you can get peaks on 2 frequencies and stuff.
I don't know where my SDR radio is.
I lent mine to somebody. I don't remember who.
Sitting in storage somewhere, but yes, that's a good idea. I'll try that. I'll see if I can find that.
How did the demonstration go Friday?
They didn't need me to come, so I didn't come. Anyway, that's what I think it sounds like. Again, I don't know if that's really what I'm hearing or not. It does disappear when I go off frequency. It doesn't really sound like a birdie or a harmonic of anything else. And I wasn't really sitting anywhere where I should be hearing any harmonics of anything.
Yeah.
In fact, when I turned off the LoRa, when I unplugged it, it disappeared. So I'm pretty sure that that's what it was. Again, I'm not 100%. I also think I was sitting at Kroger's, which is approximately 8 miles away from where I'm staying at. I got an invalid data point on my receiving station, and it said invalid. The time looked right, but I can't prove that I actually received something from 8 miles away either. So
how do you know that you're talking to the right one? I mean, does it have a serial number or something? If you've got 20 of them in a room, how do you pick out a specific one to listen to?
I had a similar question. My understanding is the receiver will pick up any of them that are transmitting.
Okay.
So, you know, if somebody else is playing around with it in your neighborhood, your receiver could pick theirs up as well.
Okay.
So we'd guess that if that's true in the case, you would need to filter in the software for just what you're looking for.
Have to build an ID into it or something.
Because my understanding is that ultimately this would become a wide area network where you could have several, 20, 30 of them all transmitting to one gateway that would do something with that information.
So you select the frequency of the channel.
Yes, both. I could. The library that I found it gives me the ability to select the base frequencies, but I think it's handling the channels. So is the receiver is supposed to listen before it transmits. Somebody else is actually transmitting.
So it's
RS-422-ish.
RF.
Yes. So this is supposed to listen. If it doesn't hear anything, it'll transmit its package. Everybody else is supposed to be quiet while that happens. You can also send up like a ping pong kind of thing so that the transmitter, the receiver receives something and acknowledges the fact that it actually received it, and it would only send it. Then this would get that packet and say, okay, I know you got my packet.
So they're both transceivers.
Yes, they are transceivers.
Are they identical?
They are identical.
Okay.
LinkSprite set these up. They make a board called a PCduino Uno 8. It's basically a Linux board with an Uno processor-ish on it. It's a SAM board instead of a AVR, but it's got it's got Uno headers on it, so you can just plug a Uno shield into it. Their software doesn't work because I've got an Uno 8 and it just did not work. The idea was you would set the Uno 8 to be the gateway, so the Uno 8 could gateway that out to do something with the information, and a second one would just be the transmitter. Luckily, there's other libraries and other people, so you can sort of, you know, Uno's not the greatest gateway because of the memory, you know.
Okay.
But I could have stuck like an ESP8266 on this instead of the SD card, and then gatewayed it out to ThingSpeak or somewhere else so that I could plot the data or whatever. So I mean that's that. That's what I got. It was fun. It was neat. It was aggravating as all heck because, you know, the other weird little these little jumpers right here, they all do something to affect this board, but so far I haven't really figured out what they actually do. And one of the frustrating things was because I didn't realize that those jumpers were actually connected to the pins of the Uno. I was trying to get all this to work, like down here on these pins, going, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? It's because these pins are doing something with that chip. So ultimately you end up with the 5 analog pins and I think four open digital pins that you could use for sensors. I think that's ultimately what you end up with. Because obviously, it doesn't do any good to send data if you're not sensing something.
Do you get a
Unless you're a
continuous signal?
politician, you just make it up as you go along.
Do you get a continuous signal that the receiver is available, or is it intermittent?
That's
By continuous, I mean like once a minute or something that would say it's able to receive.
He's talking about at on the board level, does it tell you that, do you have, what do you call that?
A pair of them talking to each other.
oh, I honestly I don't know.
All I can think of is what a great way to track a car, but
But you're gonna get miles, and then you're gonna have obstructions. This is unobstructed. Obstructions, you're probably gonna be very limited.
I really don't think that.
The futures are when there are gateways all over the place for these things, and you can track everything.
Yeah,
everywhere.
if there's one every 6 miles up on the highway or something, you could set it up to do that. But
And made available for public use.
no, and based on what I've been playing around with, I don't ever want to track a car with this thing ever. For one, it's just way too slow. It's a slow data rate.
But if you did a time versus when I took this recording, and here where it was at this time,
Well,
and
you-
point and point and
yeah,
point.
maybe. But
Every
if
30
you think
seconds, every minute that's a good track. I can track the car.
if you think
fine.
about it, it sent that data, and it said that I was near Green Tree Road or Solid Rock Church. Probably by the time it actually received and finished receiving that data, I was already in Monroe, sitting.
Yeah, you'd send the data and the timestamp. That's where you do that, because you don't really care when it took the snapshot. You don't really care. There's a time shift. You want to know
if you're trying
when it happened and where you were. And that's all you want to know.
But if you're trying to actually track a car, you want it to
In
be a
real
little.
time, and you're the cops. Well, that's a different thing.
You want it to be a little closer to. Well, I was there 15 minutes ago.
yeah.
It's like predicting last week's weather.
Yeah. I don't see it being maybe out in the field to track a tractor.
Mhm.
Maybe. I just don't see it tracking a car. I mean,
Tracking a truck,
maybe. Maybe.
tractor trailer. Of course, they got GPSs. They're doing that all the time anyway.
Yeah.
I just don't see it doing what it was I was trying to do. I was trying to do that just to prove the fact that it was actually working the way
And you
it
proved
said it was working.
Yeah, you proved the theories of it, absolutely. I feel confident the theory is good.
I feel confident that I can get at least 6 miles out of this.
Line of sight sounds good.
But I also feel
In
confident that
open country,
if it was open,
you couldn't do that in Manhattan or whatever.
No.
well, in an urban area, you would need to deploy dozens of gateways all over the
Yeah.
place, and probably set something up so that you
Now,
can
the
filter that
next
data
question,
out.
Does this do, what do they call it? Where they're all connected together?
Mesh it.
Mesh network.
Mesh
Yes.
networking? Does this do mesh?
It does.
Okay.
It does support mesh networking.
The more
It
these
actually
things-
Oh.
this chip supports 5 different modulation schemes, but the LoRa modulation is the one for long distance.
Yeah.
There's some short distance modulation schemes that it
Short
supports.
meaning what, like 100 feet?
Inside maybe like a small building.
Yeah.
Does it do any store and forward? Does it do any forwarding?
Not that
Mesh
I'm
implies forwarding, doesn't it?
aware of.
Hand.
It'll pass data along.
passing it along.
Exactly, and that's what. And if they're everywhere, then it's gonna pay. Everybody's gonna pass stuff everywhere.
Yeah, but you're
Then your
limited.
speed goes down.
Yeah.
Basically, each node can only handle so much data
Yeah.
at a time. So if it's got data coming in from 40 different other nodes, then you got a problem.
Yeah, well, our throughput's low anyway, so yeah.
If the only problem, the libraries that I've found, there's a handful of libraries for this thing, but the library that I've found that I like and I'm using right now, it doesn't support switching any of the modulation schemes or changing frequencies. It's set up strictly for LoRa. Which
I'm noticing with some of the router specs, I just got a new router. Some of the router specs are talking about 4G and 5G. I'm like, a router, 4G, what? Your router has 4G? Well, think about it. That's what AT&T's talking about with 5G and your TV service. So routers will be 4G, 5G. You need to warp your mind around that a little bit. Mine's already warped pretty bad. Routers with that.
The old version of that, I worked with a company that provided FTP servers for Alice Chalmers and another tractor company, I don't remember who. And basically every tractor they sold in North and South Dakota, Montana, Nebraska, came with an old Motorola V90 cell phone on it because they had a serial port and they were collecting real-time data for the location of the tractor, engine speed, temperature. It was interesting. And all of that stuff was being FTP'd back to a server I was running. And they had about 40,000 tractors out there.
Wow.
During harvesting time, there was a lot of data coming in.
So they wanted this for diagnostics on the tractor? Or
They were changing
maintenance
their
or-
business model and
Yeah.
going to a you can't touch it. And they
Oh.
so they were keeping track of hours, and that a guy would drive up in a truck, so your tractor needs service. We're here to fix it. Yeah, kind of scary. I have friends that moved to Nebraska. I can imagine they were not treated well.
Yeah.
it's time to fix it.
Tractor.
No. That would work good for that as long as there was a gateway somewhere that could receive all that information.
And now the phone companies are probably using cellular service and the phone companies, the electric companies.
I read somewhere that, that in Europe, they're deploying LoRa networks for public use, and supposedly it's going to happen here in the States too. I don't know. It's the next step in the Internet of Things thing.
But it's a real low data rate.
Yeah. They were talking about metropolitan Wi-Fi thing for a while. I forgot what they called it. And it was going to be cover the entire city with Wi-Fi. So it's going to be the way
That would be
was.
higher bandwidth though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So if you have that, this looks insignificant.
Yeah.
So if you would use LoRa why would people use this limited?
Battery powered.
Because it's low power, it'll run forever.
Yeah, you can
Low power, low
use battery
throughput.
operator or some cells. I think mainly for IoT, for the sensors,
Gotcha.
in different places without wiring, just put a humidity sensor in some place for 2 years working, sending to the irrigation system to the data of the
Weather monitoring, that sort of thing.
River levels. where
Yeah,
you see the solar cells
and-
these days.
And it's using SPI, so it'll pretty much work with any microcontroller that supports SPI. So you could find a really low powered microcontroller and throw it up there with solar power.
And in fact, my water meter has a very low power processor in it, and they query it, they drive down the street.
Garage door status, you go to sleep with the garage door open.
Yeah.
Usually I do that. And you can see next to the coffee maker, the garage door is open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Using this.
Yeah.
Or there is a new mail in winter, for example. Well, you're
Yeah.
waiting for something, and you know that somebody
yeah.
open and close your mail.
And just because there is a public gateway somewhere, it doesn't mean that you have to use it. It just means that it's available for use. Which is one thing that you don't have to use any of that. You could do this by yourself. I mean, as long as you're on the same channel, same frequencies.
This is the latest cheap Wi-Fi switch.
Okay.
Something on
How
them.
much?
$10 with shipping, 2 for $15 plus $5 shipping.
I bought the Wemo switch 2 years ago.
Yep.
$47 or something.
Yep.
I'm not using it.
I
Just look at it.
The Wemo 2 is
The first one is the bigger. The Wemo 2 is smaller. And this
Okay.
is
these
Smaller
are
also.
$10 a piece, and these are now working, but you know how they're easy to set up. Wi-Fi, you know.
I've got a couple of Wemo switches and I rarely use them. So.
Yep. I still use mine occasionally, but the old Wemos, they stopped supporting that. SMT2s, I think they stopped supporting it.
Anybody want to see these things?
It's not usually to see
Yes.
PCBs where designers take seriously the isolation matter, you know?
Uh,
With this slots, you have a very, very high isolation.
oh, okay.
It's very good design.
That's that $10 board.
All Chinese boards, you buy relays, for example, and you see the lines
Close together.
pretty close,
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
Too much for the isolation.
I'm with you. I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's that $10 board up there at MCM.
Mhm.
I guess we're going to play
You
around
need
with it.
an adapter, but it's okay.
You know me, I've got plenty of that stuff.
These are supposed to be
For things,
Alexis compatible.
Lights.
That's smart.
So you can turn off through the Alexis
price.
I think so.
module, listening module.
Is that a socket or is that a push button?
It has a manual on
Okay.
off on the side. That's
No, the way it was sitting, I thought that was an input.
Oh, okay, no.
To use,
It's Wi-Fi.
Okay, the
And
serial
it
port.
does, looks like it's doing voice recognition from the app,
maybe you
too.
need to.
So you can talk to it from their
The
app.
jumper is for boot. And the-
I'm interested in that.
It's supposed to already
Wondering
have
if I can talk to it.
some firmware on there to do
That
it.
could
Oh.
be handy. I
So I
don't have any Alexa.
I would
stuff.
only need to reprogram it if I didn't like what's already on
I can
there.
send you the
All the
link to
configuration.
eBay if you want.
No, you're gonna put that on the,
I'll put it on the,
I bet if we
Meeting
powered that up, I
which
bet
I
if
may
we
never send out.
show up
You
as-
can see them,
as
they're
a-
everywhere. They're on
It's
Amazon, they're on
It's
eBay, they're
probably the
everywhere.
same brand of the,
You can read the reviews on Amazon and see how.
I bet
how
it would
they
show up
connect
as
to
an
them.
access point and then you log into it and tell it what to connect.
Jeremy
to.
would never use one of these, okay? Because when you log in to download the app, the list of crap they want to get to is that long. Jeremy's like,
So they can sell you butt wax.
yeah.
the global time to
I got
turn
some.
on enough stuff.
Amazon sent me a thing for a stethoscope today.
Really?
Why the hell would I want a stethoscope?
Were you
maybe
shopping
they know
for-
something you don't know.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell you.
They've been watching you.
That is
What
so
was the
weird.
comment you said they'll spit stuff back? Some
What?
guy, what were you saying? They were trying to
I
sell you
looked-
some, not butt wax, but some.
I did look this up. It looks like
if-
it's already got
I
firmware on
was
it,
commenting on.
but you could
You know,
program it
it
if you
is-
wanted to.
It is
box
kind
with
of
the-
semi-beneficial if they track what you're looking at for
That's it.
ads, because otherwise they can just sell you.
You have to go to the
Well,
outside.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Like,
think
maybe
that, I think that's what that
that's
is.
sealed.
Turtle
I
wax.
don't think you.
Why would I need
Turtle wax.
Yeah. I think
Or an
you just have to
ingot.
crack
Give me
it.
an iron ingot.
I don't think that's coming.
It's so weird,
apart.
it's like, if you, like.
Yeah.
that,
Oh,
you-
okay, I can see they're
you
just
start
similar.
browsing via like.
This is different
an
color than
anonymous
that.
method, like you're using
Yeah.
So
Tor or
yeah, it's
something,
gonna come
Yeah.
Then
apart.
all
Not
of a sudden,
these.
all
Oh,
of a
maybe
sudden,
it'll
all
push
your
it out.
ads get thrown out of whack.
Yeah.
You almost see where they're, you almost see
Okay,
where
instructions.
they're catering.
Sort the algorithm out.
Yeah, it's
Who
like
reads
all of a sudden,
instructions?
It's not gonna be
why are
pretty.
they showing me ads for that? It's a really weird way to find that.
All I have to
That's
do
one of
is,
those things where you use a sawzall.
yeah. that's how
That
you
must
get
be
it.
the access
You
code
control
for
when
that board.
Sawzall comes on and off, but leave it plugged in.
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
You need to go to the,
Yeah.
the web page. Find out.
I looked it up.
But,
I
you know,
looked it
got
up
an
before I
Alexa
bought it.
that was on sale for the
It didn't
Prime
seem like
Day.
it was gonna be all that
My friend
complicated to
says
do.
it'll listen, it listens to you. Yeah, if you're there. So he unplugs his, he's got one of those Echo things that are bigger.
Anything for next week? Anybody have anything for next week's festivities?
Am I playing with this thing next week?
Sure. You ask me, I say yes, absolutely. And then we can bring I can set one of these things up in here, set this up and show you what that's all about.
That's
I'll
great.
have 2 of them set up. And maybe talk Frank into coming to look at the Alexa's part of it. And see, I'll try to do voice recognition next time, because it looks like it's already here. I just got to figure out what string they want me to say.
Turn on lights.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta say it. Chinese.
Blah, 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 blah. Lights.
The next week we'll be looking at, what would you call that, 8266 relay, remote Wi-Fi relay, IoT thing.
IoT thing.
Alexa, play Despacito.
Alexa, do some stuff.
Okay, anybody got anything else they want to talk about?
It's only 6:30, so we're way early tonight.
I have pictures of my robot. I made a new one, a smaller one. You remember the robot with the steppers?
Yeah.
Stepper motor?
I
Okay,
made a new
steppy.
one, but it's only the proportion unit, as you say. But I need to put the,
But all you need is proportional only.
this is working.
Are you
You need the,
connected to that to that?
You got to connect to the Automation Technology Club. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I don't think.
I need to change on the.
Yeah, you need to change the network.
Just a second.
Yeah, the High Security Club.
If there's one
Jeremy
through
takes care of
9,
all our security.
Automated technology.
can't really.
1, 2, 3, 4,
He
5,
wants to
6,
touch
7,
it
8.
with a 10-foot pole.
8. That's it. Should connect.
You told me.
There, you're connected. Woo!
Okay.
That's probably gonna tell you that there's no.
Now, let's go to the,
Now try to cast. And there you
Speaking
go.
over, something's happening. There you go.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. You gonna do that?
It's very, very handy to.
I mean, it's
to be able
right
to
here. You
do
don't
it.
have to set up a projector or anything.
Well, yeah,
I think it's very neat. Oh, you did. You made that real small, didn't you?
this is the new one.
Wow.
That's a crystal clear picture.
Okay.
This is the comparison with the one that I showed. The wheels are almost half the diameter, but the motors the final speed will be the same one, because I used the motor from MCM.
Oh,
Adafruit, the 12 volts motors,
right.
they have lower radio.
Have you been to MCM?
Oh,
They are 4 times faster than the 5 volts
Yeah,
version.
Oh, okay.
Where you buy
Your phone just went to sleep on you. There you go.
Okay, let me show you.
Oh, hi, people.
the family.
Yeah. This is the, what?
It's showing it right on the screen. The big screen's showing it, okay. It's your little screen that's having problems. There we go.
Those
Wow.
flanges
Uh-huh.
are from China.
Okay.
The former ones was knobs from
Doorknobs,
cabinets.
yeah.
Now it's more professional approach. Rings are handmade.
I like your handmade.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yes.
That's wire insulation, isn't it? The O-rings?
Huh?
Wire covering?
No, this is a
O-ring
rubber,
material.
a
O-ring.
rubber for O-rings.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
I bought in Amazon. Let me see if yeah. Close your eyes. I bought some. I'm working on an idea of to make for the blind people a reader where the characters will pass from
Braille.
it's like a circle with steel balls, make steel balls that will form the different characters passing under the finger.
Okay.
But it's
Wow.
an idea I'm working on. I bought those solenoids are tiny, are 5 millimeters long. It's very, very tiny. Okay, let me see. This is the process. Those are the parts with the laser of the robot you saw. The brackets of the motors. And the wheels are made of 3 layers. Okay,
Mhm.
glue it together with this plastic liquid. It's some like acetone or something like that.
So all it does is just melt the plastic and then
Yes, melt the
as it
plastic.
dries.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm working on this. Acetone's not a glue.
It's not
No, he's just fusing the
Melting
plastic.
them, yeah.
It,
Okay.
it melts the plastic a
I
little
use
bit.
a Dremel router to make
To
the
make-
outer layers have a chaflan, okay, to permit to maintain the rubber ring, the O-ring in place. This is how the rings are made. This is the material from Amazon. It comes in lengths of 10 feet,
Cable.
and it can be glued with crazy glue. It's pretty strong.
If you find that those wheels slip on you, if you find those wheels slip, try fuel tubing for model airplanes. It's a silicon, it's really sticky,
Okay.
and you can glue it together the same way and get it the same diameters.
Thinking outside the box.
This is the bracket for the motors.
Mhm.
This is the also the
So that's going to be tiny though.
yes, it's tiny.
Do you want to demo those, your new Steppy next week?
But I need to assemble all the electronics because the demo that you saw several weeks ago don't use acceleration because the library do not support acceleration for two motors, just for one.
Okay.
And I am making some twist to use acceleration in both motors. I will show how I will do it, but it will work.
Those tail dragging balls are available at Menards, some similar to that. Be aware. Yeah.
These balls, I bought them in Amazon.
They have them at Menards. I don't
Yes.
know if they're that size. That's where I got mine.
This is the driver I was using. So it's the same driver that used the 3D printers for motors.
Mhm.
It's very cheaper, under $1, 60 cents, 80 cents.
Wow.
And it works great. It drives bipolar motors. This motor is unipolar, but I left the central tap free and don't use it, and works great. With bipolar, you increase the voltage, you double the voltage in the coils,
Mhm.
and the motor has more power to go faster.
Okay.
The one thing that I am using is the enable of this board, because when the motor is stopped, I turn off all the coils.
Mhm.
If not, the motor will get hot, and the
Continue to
batteries
use
will
power,
drain too
yeah.
fast also.
Yeah.
And because the gear reduction, you don't need to power the stepper to maintain the position.
Right.
It's very stable.
Well, the magnets and the stepper will hold it in position anyway.
No, but it's because the reduction,
Yeah.
you have a
It's geared.
64 by 64. Any movement in the wheel need to multiply for 64. It's divided by 64 to attack the position of the motor.
Comes out at almost 4,000 steps per revolution, something like that.
This is 64 steps for the revolution of the motor, and 64 reduction. You have 64 by 64 steps
Oh, okay.
to
Yeah.
make a full turn. Okay.
The gear is 64 to 1 and the motor is 64 steps to make one rotation. And then you got to do 64 rotations to make one complete circle.
In the smaller robot, I changed the motor with 16 gear reduction.
16.
Instead of 64, is 4 times lower, 1/4 of the, and in this way it goes faster.
Yeah.
I can use smaller wheels.
Yeah.
And smaller size.
Cool.
This is from Adafruit, and MCM. I went to MCM to pick 2 of them to do this. It was experimenting with the speed, different parameters.
Hey, that looks like the
This
raspberry.
This is a problem with my heater in the basement.
Oh, hot water heater.
There is a sacrifice electrode inside us. I think that this 2 years ago disappeared, and everything becomes to get rusty. I need to change everything.
I see a Raspberry Pi there.
This is how my RF modules came from China, almost destroyed.
Wow.
It looked like a rat.
like someone chew with them.
Vermin.
This came in an envelope, fully
One of
destroyed.
those cans are smashed.
I tell the vendor and instantly they
Send another
give
one.
me the money.
I got no trouble. It's amazing they don't,
It works.
they aren't crushed, most stuff isn't crushed coming from China.
This
And
is
the packing
how
is
was
ridiculous.
the knob,
The door, okay, the doorknob cabinet.
Yeah. how was. This metal base, also I bought them from Amazon. It's the best way to find the center of a cylinder, to fix the piece to make the hole in the center. Also bought this.
So what's the screw diameter and the thread size on this?
This one is 4 millimeters. I am using millimeters in all. Are hard to find the bolts and screws and everything, but I found in Lowes they have all the metric
They
sizes.
do. They have
Very,
quite
very
some-
nice, and because I work in AutoCAD with millimeters designing, it's very easy to choose the.
Down to a certain size. If you want like 2 millimeters, they don't have.
No, in the circuits. Excuse me?
So like 2 millimeters, they don't have at Lowe's.
No, 3 is the minimum
Yeah,
in Lowes.
I found 3s at Lowe's.
But the
But they have
American
3
sizes are
millimeters and
cheaper.
have all the longs, 6 millimeters, 8, 10, 12, 16, 20, all the sizes. 3 millimeters and 4 millimeters, again, all the sizes. 5 millimeters again. And you can design more flexibly with this.
Mhm.
You can find also the more close screws from inches system, but I'm already in this.
I think,
Many stuff from China and Europe and all comes in millimeters. All the distance of the model are in millimeters. The specification.
What about the price of the screws and the metric screws and stuff? Are they-
That's the
Same one, same
About the
price.
same?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No
That's
difference.
good.
I think Harbor Freight has a good selection of millimeter screws too. You buy them as
I work in inches
big
when
sets.
I'm designing the PCBs, the circuits, because everything is in inches or fractions of inches. But when I go to the mechanical side of the design, I work with the millimeters all the time.
I bought those trays from Amazon that have like 16 compartments in them. That's cost per unit is really pretty inexpensive.
That's how Harbor Freight sells them. It sells them in like a little tin that's got like
The only
16
problem with
or
that, of course, is you get
stuff you never use.
15 sizes you don't need.
Look, I use from AutoCAD, I use the design printed on paper, put over a piece of wood,
Uh-huh.
and then cut everything, all the corners and all the holes. It's easy, it's fast, okay, to design something in the drawing and put over the wood. And it has enough precision to work with.
I did get a 128 gig SD chip this week for $13. It seems to be okay so far on my cameras.
Really?
Yeah. It was a little squirrely the first couple of times I used them, but I've had that problem with them from the beginning, any size. I have to take it and reseat it. And then the second time I had trouble, I had to just power